The pandemic created a havoc in the financial system, and because of this, a lot of small companies were struggling for capital. It is in this context, RBI, in order to help these companies, change the priority sector lending norms. If you're watching this for the first time, please check out this channel. I will also be posting the PDF of this explainer on this particular Telegram channel. The address is t.me/Hindu highlights. You can just search for that on the Telegram channel. You can find the PDF there. Also, you'll find a lot of newspaper articles and analysis from 2019 till date. Anyway, moving on, we will be looking at all the updates from RBI with respect to priority sector lending. But before that, we'll try to understand what priority sector lending means and how it is a step which tries to advance the developmental role of RBI. We know that capital is one of the most important factor for economic production. Unless until you have money, you can't start a business and it will remain like an idea. It will not become a business. But the present problem with access to capital is most of the capital is actually taken away by a significant small number of companies. There are certain economic models like say for example agriculture. A lot of traditional banks are very hesitant to give out loans to the agricultural sector because there are a lot of uncertainties associated with agriculture. So what happens as a reason of this skewed economic model? We are talking about development, right? So there is something called Oxfam report. So this Oxfam report says that the top 10% of the country owns 70% of our wealth, whereas the remaining 30% of the wealth is in the hands of the rest 90% of the people. So you can imagine the level of inequality. In order to reduce this inequality, access to capital is the most important thing, and priority sector lending is one such initiative by RBI to ensure that this inequality reduces. Let us see how. To the uninitiated, I'll just explain how a bank works. Imagine you are a customer or you are trying to store your money in a bank. So let's imagine you stored 100 rupees in the bank and the bank uses this 100 rupees to give it as a loan to the customer. So what happens is this customer pays back 20 rupees more as interest for taking this loan, and the bank will retain 15 rupees and give back 5 rupees. So 15% is the profit out of this 100 rupees given as a loan. What happens if 70 or 80 rupees is given to just one company? What if that company fails? That is one risk. Otherwise, consider you are betting big on one particular sector, let's say transport sector or let's say tourism sector. But then imagine a situation like COVID, nobody is willing to travel, all your money is stuck in this sector. What happens? Again, it is a risk. So the reason why banks are willing to take this risk is because it gives high returns. Essentially, banks are driven by profits. Ultimately, they are here for profits. But they also have a bigger role, especially in a country like India, where banks are extremely important for developmental models and the idea of financial inclusion. We need some kind of intervention from certain central agency. That central agency is nothing but RBI. That is why we have the priority sector lending norms, where RBI says that out of these 100 rupees that you are lending out, some X percent should definitely be allocated to some sectors which are very vulnerable. Let us see what these priority sectors are. If you go to the RBI website and have a look at the documents there, it says that there are 8 categories of priority sectors and it is applicable to all kinds of scheduled commercial banks, urban cooperative banks, small finance banks, regional rural banks, and local area banks. So if you don't know about the classification of banking in our country, please go through them, or if you want a video on that, I'll make a small video, you can post it in the comments. The next thing that you have to know is there are 8 categories which are considered to be priority sector as per this notification from RBI, which keeps changing from time to time. So from UPSC prelims perspective, we have to focus on those areas where probable questions can appear, and we have to focus on the latest changes, not the entire information, because the cost benefit is very low. So as per the present norms for different categories of banks, the X percentage that we talked about varies. So say in this present case, for domestic commercial banks or scheduled commercial banks of domestic category, for these banks the priority sector lending is 40% of ANBC. What is this ANBC? For all practical purposes, the 100 rupees that we're talking about, or the amount that a bank can lend, is the adjusted net bank credit. For the practical purposes of this lecture, you can imagine that it is the amount that banks can lend. So out of the 100 rupees, they can lend 40 rupees. And within this 100 rupees, 18% should go to the agricultural sector, and 7.5% to the MSME sector, and weaker sections, which is notified in the RBI website. I have posted the screenshot of that in the end of this video lecture. You can just download this document and go through them as well. So for the weaker sections, it is 12%. We are only talking about the domestic commercial banks, and depending on the category, it changes. So you just have to understand the classification of all these banks. Only then you will be able to appreciate this fact better. Just download this, or if you don't know the latest developments in banking classification, or about how RBI has taken over the urban and multi-state cooperatives, just let me know either through Telegram or in the comment section, so that I can explain that as well. It is beyond the scope of this video. Just note that for rural cooperative banks, there is no PSL. If you don't know why, just let me know. So, what are the changes in the agricultural sector? We know Ashok Dhalwai committee, which was set up with an objective to look at all the uh, terms and conditions that can facilitate doubling of farmers' income by 2022. One of the major factor it identified was there are more avenues for income generation for farmers. So RBI has set up a panel to understand which areas can be utilized in the priority sector lending as a methodology to give them access to credit. So compressed biogas plants and solar plants for running their pump sets for farmers. These two were identified as potential empowering agents for farmers, and that is why agricultural sector within that, if a farmer is willing to invest in CBG plants or solar power plants, RBI has mandated that all the financial institutions for which PSL is applicable, they can extend it to the farmers for this purpose. So if you take a look at the agricultural sector per se, there are various categories. One, on an individual level, you can say that individual farmers credit is one issue. Then you have farmer produce organization, and then you have infrastructure activities. So you can say ancillary activities and infrastructural activities are the various other categories under this agricultural head. So another update with respect to these FPOs is, one of the major problems for banks to lend to farmer produce organizations or farmers is they don't know if they'll recover that money. So if FPOs enter into some sort of contract farming where the price is predetermined, they definitely know that they'll be getting that money. So obviously they'll not have any sort of problem to incentivize these FPOs with access to credit. So in one way, this is creating a ecosystem. That is to say, PSL norms are trying to create an ecosystem where contract farming becomes a norm. The next thing that you have to note is small and marginal farmers. If you take a look at the agricultural census 2016, it says that 86% of the farmers are small and marginal farmers. So if you don't know the definition of small and marginal farmers as per RBI's notification, which is also the same definition in agricultural census, I request you to just Google it or go through the RBI website. So just make a habit of visiting government websites. Anyway, moving on. One more reason, like in the case of FPOs, if you take a look at another committee report, Shanta Kumar committee report, it says that only 6% of the farmers were aware of something called minimum support price, which is considered to be one of the most predictable regime for income for farmers. If only 6% know, you can imagine the level of vulnerability in the system for farmers. Again, one more point, which is also another probable question, is out of the 18% which is set out for agriculture, it is said that 10% should be allocated to this most vulnerable group of small and marginal farmers. So this is all you have to know from the latest updates for priority sector lending as far as the agricultural sector is concerned. Moving on, the second sector. The second sector is that of MSME. After the pandemic stuck, we have realized the importance of MSMEs in the post-pandemic world, and the government has changed the definition of MSME based on investment and turnover as the criteria. So, what are the definitions? You can just go through this. There is nothing to explain here. The numbers are not really important from UPSC perspective most of the times, but this time the definition of MSME is going to be very important. I request you to just download the document and go through this. And also, similarly, the definition of startup. It should be having a turnover less than 100 crores and should have been incorporated less than 10 years ago. This is the definition of startup as per MSME. So these two definitions are important in the context of PSL. Why? Because as per the latest RBI notification, startups can now get loans up to 50 crores. Previously, this was not possible. And similarly, there were two other changes which might significantly help the MSME sector, which is considered to be the most important sector as after the farming sector, because nearly 40% of the employment generated is from MSME sector. Non-banking financial companies, NBFCs, play a very significant role for empowering these MSMEs. I'll be explaining how in the next slide. But for now, understand that NBFCs find it very difficult to get their own funds. That is the reason why these NBFCs give a lot of interest when compared to the normal banks. If normal banks are giving around 5 to 6% of interest, these NBFCs gives you around 9% of interest. So the reason is, since there is an incentive for the customer to invest in this NBFCs, they'll be moving towards that, even though it is risky. So those who are willing to take that risk will have to get a better return. That is the same logic here. Now, in these times of crisis, in order to ensure that NBFCs get easy credit, some X amount of money, like say 40% is the PSL limit, right? So in this 40%, if certain amount is actually given to NBFCs and they are actually lending to the PSL sectors, in that case also it is considered as priority sector lending as per the latest notification. The next thing that you have to note, which is significant for MSME sector, is the incremental PSL. One of the most important problem that Indian economy faces is the lack of regional equity, or some states develop better than other states. In order to ensure that this is addressed, there is a slight change in PSL notification. Say for example, a district X has low credit dispersal history. For that, a weight is assigned by RBI. Say if you lend some 10 rupees and if it is given a weight of 125%, then this district X will contribute more towards this PSL norms than a district Y, which has, say for example, 75% of weightage. So if you give the same 10 rupees to the district with 75% weightage, it is actually hurting the bank, because whenever there is huge demand, or whenever there is ease with which loans can be given in a particular area, then in such areas it is an easy way out for the banks to give loans. Say for example, if a district Y has a prosperous industry, like say for example, it is much more easier for banks to give a loan for a startup that is located in Bangalore than a startup that is located in Chhattisgarh. In order to ensure that startups in Chhattisgarh also gets access to this credit, RBI has taken the step where the weightage has been increased to those districts which have less credit dispersal history. Of course, the job is tougher for bankers, but the objective of development necessitates that RBI takes these kind of steps. Another appreciable move. We have discussed about the on lending model, but it is time to talk about the co-lending model, which is the next important step that was taken by RBI in PSL notification. So we're talking about the co-lending model. Traditionally, banks do not take risk with certain segment of uh, economy. Like say, for example, you have a Ola cab driver or a normal person who wants to buy a car by taking a loan and start Ola cab driver service. But the problem is, normal banks do not encourage him because they don't know the credit worthiness of this individual. Imagine the same thing with respect to NBFCs. NBFCs, like we already discussed, have a problem of cash flow or cash crunch, but they have certain advantage. They have a mechanism or a specialization where credit worthiness credit worthiness of these individuals is assessed in a very comprehensive manner. So if you can actually utilize this credit worthiness or the technical skill required in the fintech world or the financial world, what banks can do is tap into their skill set and reach out to this Ola cab driver. So there is a caveat here. If Ola cab driver is asking for 100 rupees, the notification says that NBFC should maintain at least 20% or 20 rupees should be given from NBFC's own pocket, and banks will give the rest 80%, and the rates for the cab driver can actually come down as well, because NBFCs will give this 20 rupees at say 10% interest, but banks are willing to give this 80% of the money at say 7% interest only. The reason is that is the normal interest rate that they will be charging for customers, and NBFC will be responsible for this um, particular asset because they are actually assessing the credit worthiness of the individual. That is a win-win situation for everyone. You will be getting a low interest product. Banks will be happy that they can ensure PSL norms are reached, PSL targets are reached, and NBFCs also get cheap funds. So it is a win-win situation for everyone. So this is the co-lending model. Again, another important point is for renewable energy, it is one more priority sector lending. In this particular notification, RBI said that it is doubling the uh, amount that can be given to the renewable energy sector. Some important points to note. Priority sector lending does not mean that you will be getting a concession. These sectors will not get a concession. It only means that if you ensure a target to the banks, otherwise you penalize them. How? By ensuring that in the time of regulatory clearance and approvals, say for example, if a bank wants to open a new branch, unless and until these targets are met, they will not get a permission. So by putting up conditions like this through governance design, they will ensure that development happens at a comprehensive level. So if there is a PSL shortfall or if the banks are not able to reach the targets, the funds should be deposited. Another concept that you have to know is the priority sector lending certificates, where a bank one which exceeded the PSL targets will be selling certain certificates to bank two which failed to reach the targets. These compliance norms are checked quarterly by RBI. The last important point is the definition of weaker sections. You can just download the PDF from the Telegram group and go through them. Nothing much to explain here. So if you like the video, please share it with your friends and do subscribe. That's it for now. Thank you.